All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're also excited about our next guest, Representative Andy Barr, who is someone who recently got on our radar because of a particular thorn in our paw, a man named Mitch McConnell, who is a Kentucky senator who's being wheeled around right now in the Senate Hospice Center. And this is a man who wants to step up. He's currently a representative for the 6th District in Kentucky, member of Congress, and anybody who wants to gently remove Mitch McConnell from the Senate is a friend of mine. So please welcome Congressman Andy Barr to the program. All right, Congressman, how are you this morning? Welcome to the show. Big days for your committees. Select Committee on China, Foreign Affairs, Financial Services. Man, you're going gangbusters.
Benny, what an honor to be with you.
This is a very exciting moment in time, and I just want to maybe it's kind of dovetails into Mitch McConnell, but your take on the peace deal in Ukraine. This is something breaking news as of this morning. It seems like Marco Rubio is doing a great job there. You're on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and so this is a foreign affair I'm sure you've had your eye on. Our audience is certainly sick of us shoveling money into that money pit. This has got to be a real positive update for you.
Very positive. And Benny, I mean, this is a great example of why we need President Trump in the White House. Putin would have never invaded Ukraine if Donald Trump was president. But when Joe Biden came into office and retreated from Afghanistan and signaled to our allies that he would not stand by them, when he unilaterally removed the sanctions on Nord Stream 2 and had this feckless response to Putin, that was an invitation to aggression. Contrast that to Donald Trump, who comes in and says, we're going to use the actual leverage that we have as a country to end this senseless war. And it's peace through strength. Once again, this is why Donald Trump is the most historically consequential president of my lifetime.
Yeah, we just want people to stop dying, right? And these wars end up costing us enormous amounts of treasure. They're 5,000 miles away. They don't seem to really affect people of Kentucky. But Mitch McConnell is somebody who's constantly in the Senate talking about how this is the most important battle of our era. And I'm like, dude, there's a pothole in front of my house. And there's crumbling bridges all over my city. And no, actually, Ukraine isn't the number one thing on most Americans' minds. It's like the price of eggs.
Well, look, deterrence is the most important thing. And this president has shown deterrence and peace through strength. Instead of sending money to USAID and to all of these causes overseas, you don't have to do that if you actually demonstrate strength through deterrence. And the truth is, the largest geopolitical threat of our time is the Chinese Communist Party. And Marco Rubio and Donald Trump have the right priorities in place here, and making sure that we deter Putin so that we can focus on the biggest threat is, I think, the right strategy here. One thing I would say is that thank goodness for DOGE and Elon Musk, because they are exposing to the American people, the hardworking taxpayers of this country, the waste that has been going on for a number of years, especially under Joe Biden and Barack Obama before him, the waste in foreign assistance. The American people, 77 million Americans, voted for America first. And thank goodness we have DOGE to expose things like $75,000 for a drag show workshop in Ecuador, or $122 million to organizations affiliated with designated terrorist organizations from USAID, or $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala through a trans organization, $500,000 to an Indonesian coffee company to become more climate and gender friendly, or $5.5 million to Uganda to combat a homosexuality law. And by the way, that particular grant that went to Uganda to fight their own internal policies, that pushed Uganda into the arms of China's Belt and Road Initiative. And now Uganda is working with the communists in Beijing to build a $5 billion East African oil pipeline. I mean, it's not only waste, it's counterproductive to our national security. So thank goodness for President Trump and Elon Musk and DOGE for rooting out all of this waste.
It does seem like an untenable position to be in if you are a Democrat, because they've decided instead of doing the smart thing, which would be, yeah, there's government waste and we don't like it either, and we're going to unite with Republicans to stop the waste. That's like what the 90-10 issue is. Instead of doing that, it's like, we love government waste and we want forever, we're going to sue so that unelected forever bureaucrats can blow all of your money directly into a furnace. But the furnace is in Uganda. And so like that's the Congressman, that's what the other side of the aisle is saying. That's the message they're sending the American people. I don't think it's going to win, man.
No, it's not going to win. And it's just common sense. I mean, these people are, this is the hill they're willing to die on, is to fight this kind of ridiculous waste, fraud, and abuse. The American people are the hardworking taxpayers of this country. They don't deserve this. They deserve better than this. And to put it into perspective, why do we need DOGE? I mean, the Democrats whine about a billionaire who is having access to our payment systems in our country and looking for a little bit of waste, fraud, and abuse. You would think that they would understand that this is something that 77 million Americans voted for. And consider this, Benny, we have in this country today, we are issuing $573 billion. Think about that, $573 billion a week in new bond issuance, treasuries, every single week. To put that in perspective, the entire national debt of Australia is $573 billion. So we're issuing the Australia debt every single week in this country. One would think a little bit of circumspection on the wasteful spending that's going on is in order. And they call it a constitutional crisis, the Democrats and the liberal media. They call it a constitutional crisis. No, what the constitutional crisis is in this country is spending our children's future into oblivion. We need a little bit of fiscal responsibility. And every one of these reforms that are being proposed by DOGE and Elon Musk and the people working for government efficiency, these are proposals, recommendations made to Congress and politically accountable people in the administration. So, for example, Secretary Rubio is ultimately the politically accountable person who is making the decision to pause all funding from USAID. It's not Elon Musk, an unelected person. It is a politically accountable, Senate-confirmed secretary. That is not only constitutional, it's appropriate, and it is consistent with the separation of powers. When we appropriate funding for foreign assistance, when Congress does, and I've voted against most of it anyway, but when Congress appropriates it, it's not like we put line items that we want it to go to a drag show. It's not like we put a line item in there that we want it to go to LGBT policies in Uganda that hurt our national security. These are decisions made by the Biden USAID and the Biden State Department. And under statutory law, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has the discretion, the authority to rescind all of this wasteful and reprioritize it to what is in the interest of the American people. That is America first. Thank goodness that's the new policy of the new sheriff in town.
Okay, so you say America first, and that is what you want, and I agree with you, of course. Every American, logically, would. However, and I was very excited that you were on the show today, because I popped this up right before my 9 p.m. bedtime last night. This is Mitch McConnell's legacy. And I'm not sure how closely you can see the screen here, but all it is a map between 2000 and 2024, and how the entire manufacturing base of America was gutted in that time. Now, that's the time where Mitch McConnell was in charge of the Republican Party in the Senate. And he was dead set on ensuring that China got as big of a piece of the pie as humanly possible. And it's devastating. I'm not sure you'll ever be able to reverse this, honestly. This is the trade totaled. This is global trade dominance, U.S. versus China. And China has obviously eaten our lunch across the world, around the world, and it's really flipped, frankly. It seemed there are rumblings that you may run either against Mitch McConnell or if his seat if he resigns. How would you reverse this, Congressman?
Well, we need an America First policy, and thank goodness we have President Donald Trump, who actually is the first president in my lifetime who has recognized the real threat from China. As these graphics point out, China has engaged in unfair trade practices, and frankly, leaders of both political parties over the last several decades made a huge miscalculation and thought that if we only just traded with China, if we only just allowed them into the trading system, the World Trade Organization, and gave them preferential trading status, if we only just engage with China, that they would somehow democratize, that they would liberalize their system, and that we would introduce free market capitalism into their system. Instead, they exploited that openness. They exploited that mistake. And now they are a peer rival of the United States in many respects. I love what President Trump has done, which is not only to confront the threat from China, but use the levers of American economic power. And I've talked to Secretary Lutnick, Howard Lutnick, who I think will be confirmed this week, and also Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, about how we can push back and use our economic power to relocate supply chains onshore and start standing up for American manufacturers once again. Reciprocity is the goal from this administration on trade. And I'll give you an example from Kentucky. A lot of Chamber of Commerce types, a lot of establishment traditional Republicans say, oh, well, we need free trade and we shouldn't be fighting any of this. We should have access to China and we should have access to these markets. We don't want to start a trade war. That would be disruptive. And you hear that from Democrats in Kentucky who worry about retaliatory tariffs on Kentucky bourbon. But here's the power of the Trump policy on trade. Yes, of course, we want open market access to Europe, and we don't want retaliatory tariffs on Kentucky bourbon exports. But when we went to India, which has 150% tariffs on Kentucky bourbon exports, the largest market in the world, 1.4 billion people, because President Trump and incoming Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick said, you are not treating American bourbon exports fairly, and because we are threatening through President Trump tariffs to achieve reciprocity. Because of that, India and Modi just announced a 50% reduction in tariffs of Kentucky bourbon exports into the largest market in the world. That is what an America First trade policy looks like. We're going to do it to China. We're going to do it to India. We're going to do it to Europe. We're going to do it to the rest of the world so that America has manufacturing back in the United States and we become the #1 exporter in the world. And Kentucky bourbon is just one example of how Americans will benefit.
Cheaper, better bourbon for the world. Well, you're speaking my love language, Congressman. Okay, so this is the news that's splashed atop Fox right now about you, Andy Barr-Mull's Senate bid. It's time for Kentucky to have a U.S. senator who supports President Trump. Are you going to be running for Mitch McConnell's Senate seat? Will Mitch McConnell be running again? We've covered quite in detail some of the more recent falls and the wheelchair, and we want Mitch McConnell to retire for his own sake. Same way for same thing with Joe Biden, right? There's a point at which it becomes like hospice care, and you don't want that. It's actually cruel to the individual. So recognize when your time's done. Do you think Mitch McConnell's gonna retire? Question number one. And are you gonna run for this seat, Congressman?
Well, we're still doing the due diligence, and we're getting a lot of encouragement around the country and especially in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, because look, the American people want a Congress, a Senate that supports President Trump. I certainly do. I was the chairman of the Trump for President campaign in Kentucky. I was the first member of the Kentucky delegation to endorse President Trump before the 2024 election, before the primary. I did not, unlike others who are talking about running for Mitch McConnell's seat, Kentucky seat in the Senate. I did not ever serve on the payroll of Mitch McConnell, and I never donated to I never donated to Donald Trump's opponent, like Nikki Haley, like some of the individuals who are talking about are running for the Senate. So look, I'm an America First conservative. I support President Trump's agenda. I've been there every step of the way. President Trump has come to my district way back in 2018 and campaigned for me. And I welcome that. And I asked him to do so because I fully support this president's agenda. And here's the bottom line, Benny. Kentucky deserves a senator who will support this president, who will support this president's cabinet, who will support this president's agenda. I do. And I look forward to continuing my work to turn this country around with President Trump.
Yes. I mean, it's like, forgive me, because I love Kentucky. It's where I had my bachelor party. I've gone to Kentucky a number of times on the Bourbon Trail. I love Kentucky. There's nothing but warmth in my heart for the state of Kentucky. But y'all's state is schizophrenic. Like, it's like manic depressive. Like, if you have Rand Paul, who's one of the best senators in the world, versus Mitch McConnell, who's the only senator to vote against the biggest picks for Donald Trump. He voted against RFK and Hegseth and Tulsi. It's like, that's like bipolar, man. You should have a senator that represents Kentucky. Like, we're down for that. And we know the people of Kentucky, they're like great salt of the earth, like best people you'll ever meet. And I think you guys are being poorly represented, frankly, with one of your senators. So,
well, I'm my own man. I mean, people say, "Oh, are you this kind of Republican? Are you that kind of Republican?" Look, I'm an Andy Barr Republican who is an America First conservative. I believe in limited government. I believe in cutting spending. I believe in living within your means. I believe in free enterprise, and I believe in putting the American people ahead of anything else. That's the number one priority. And again, Kentucky deserves a U.S. senator who shares their values. And look, the proof is in the pudding. Kentucky voted for President Trump overwhelmingly. And I'll say this too. To the people of Kentucky, do you want a candidate, a nominee, a Republican nominee running for U.S. Senate who can not only support and defend this president and his agenda, but someone who's going to win? The only way a Democrat can win statewide in 2025 or 2026 in Kentucky is to win the 6th congressional district, the Central Kentucky district, the district that I've represented for the last decade in Congress. That is the only purple district, the only swing district in Kentucky. I just won it by over 25 points, 2 cycles in a row. And, some of the individuals who are looking to run, one of them in particular, he ran for governor and he lost the district by a mile. That's the way we have a Democratic governor, is because our Democratic governor, he won my district twice. And the last time he defeated someone who's talking about running for the Senate, and he defeated him by 19 to 20 points. I think it was like 59 to 41%. Our Democratic governor won the district that I won by 25%. I can deny any Democrat the path to statewide office, and certainly the path to the U.S. Senate. And I can do so, more importantly, by being a strong, consistent, and reliable ally of President Donald Trump.
All politics is local, man. We always say that. So it's where it's actually it's where it actually happens, and that's why you got to grind it out and got to know what's up. And we appreciate you, Congressman, being on the program. Everybody, go follow the Congressman, Congressman Andy Barr, right here with a sweet Kentucky racehorse right there. Love to catch a race with you sometime, Congressman. Sip one of those tariff-free bourbons.
You got it.
All
Thanks
right.
so much. Thanks, Benny.
Thank you.